So this version of the lesson is going to be for those who use table method rather than the key point method, which is nothing wrong with whichever method you choose. So if you use table method, for the most part, the big things you need to look out for is know what the shape looks like for number one. Number two, also know what your horizontal shift is. Okay, so the horizontal shift is going to be what's under the radical. Really what you're doing is you're finding the zero of the expression under the radical. So if you're a table method person, in this case, your zero would be just zero because there's nothing added or subtracted to the x under the radical. And when it comes to table method, I need to know the shape. So it's a cube root function, so it's going to look like this, like so. So the stretched S shape. And since it's the stretched S shape, the starting point's right here in the middle, I'm going to go ahead and pick numbers to the left and to the right of that. Okay, so this first number is based on that, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple. It doesn't matter what numbers you pick. You can just use a calculator. A lot of these will end up giving you decimals, and that's okay. If you're using a calculator, just a reminder, a lot of calculators might have you first type in a 3, then the second button, then the little caret button, and then you can type in what's under the radical. Some of them require that you put parentheses around it, so but if you have like the multi-view calculators that I have in class, you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead and type in cube root of -1 and then plus 2. Notice the plus 2 is on the outside. And you type that in, or you do it in your head, and you get +1. If you do the cube root of 0 plus 2, you get +2. Cube root of 1 plus 2 is 3. Cube root of 2 plus 2. Now I don't know the cube root of 2. So that's one that I might have to do in my calculator, and that's okay. So cube root of 2 plus 2 is about 3.3 if you round. Now, if you wanted to be able to just do it all in your head, just find a number you can take a cube root of, like 8. Cube root of 8 is 2. If you add 2 to that, you get 3. At this point, I'm going to go ahead, and plot these coordinates. And since I use the table, I'm just going from the origin. It's -1, +1, 0, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3.3. And if I hadn't done the 8, 3, that would have still been enough, and it would have been great. Oh, I did, 8, 4. Look at me. That's, wow, I'm going to write that out so that you understand why. Cube root of 8 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. My bad, sorry about that. So 8, 4, and then just make sure the shape looks right for what the graph should be. Okay, let's go ahead and do another one. So we're doing table method again. I start out by finding the 0 of what's under the radical. In this case, it is +3. I'm going to put that right here. Oh, goodness, what's going on? There we go. So we've got +3 that we're going to put in. Now, knowing this shape's really important because we're going from here on. All right, so you don't have things, their starting point's right here. So you won't have things to the left. So I'm actually not going to have numbers to the left. If you forget that, that's okay. So if I plugged in 2, you're going to end up with a square root of -1 plus 2, which is imaginary. And you can't do that. Your calculator will give you like a domain error, and so you'll have issues anyway. So I'm only going to pick things to the right. So 3, we've got 4, you can do 5, however many you want. Okay, at least do 3. But beyond 3, do what you want. So then I just type it in. So square root of 3 minus 3 plus 2. So you're just going to go ahead and type all those in. So if you're following along, I would suggest that you pause the video at some point and just verify that you know how to get these numbers. It's not too bad, but just double check that you know how to do it. Once again, if you wanted to be able to do it in your head, you just need to come up with an x value that after you subtract 3 you get a perfect square. So like 7, square root of 7 minus 3 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2, so 2 plus 2 is 4. So if you wanted something like that. So then you just plot them. So there's nothing actually super complicated about table method. Oh, wow, I cannot plot. This is why you don't talk and do this at the same time. So 3, 2, here we go. 4, 3, 5, 3.4. If I wanted to, I could do 7, 4 as well. And there you have it. So it does start at that. That first one's your starting point, and you go from there. So you can, this is literally how you do every single one of these types of problems. Just a side note though, sometimes they'll rewrite this problem. It'll be written as like x minus 3 to the 1/2 plus 2. If you see that in your homework, I would just change that to be a square root of x minus 3 plus 2. Same thing with like a cube root problem. So you might have something like this. This could be written as negative 1/2 times x minus 1 to the 1/3 power. They mean the same thing. Don't let that scare you. Let's go ahead and just do this problem. So once again, knowing the shape's important. So the shape is the stretched S. Second thing I do is I find the 0 of the number under the square root. So x minus 1, the 0 of that is a positive 1. So you're going right one. And this is a table that, since the the stretched S goes both directions, I'm going to go ahead and pick a number to the left, a number to the right, at least have a couple points, and then type it in. And you don't have to write it out every time. In fact, I'm not going to write it out, but we're just plugging 0 in for x, so you'd get positive 1/2, or 0.5 for this one. This one would give us 0. This one would give us negative 0.5. And I am not sure on this one, because it's going to give us something else. Hold on. So 3 cube root of that times negative 0.5 is negative 0.63. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and plot those. 0.5, 1, 0, 2, negative 0.5, and then negative 0.63 is just a little lower. So it's going to look something like that. Okay, do what you want. If you want to keep watching, great. I'm going to keep doing a couple more, just so you have several examples here. So once again, shape is important. So this one's the like arch shape. Second thing you do is find the 0 under the radical. There's nothing added or subtracted, so it's just going to be 0. Now, since it's a square root, you'll get imaginary numbers, so we don't do anything to the left, but I'm going to plug numbers into the right. And you can pick whatever numbers you want. If you want it to come out cleanly where you get integer answers, pick things that are perfect squares. And then you'll just plug it into the equation. So this one would give me 3. This one would give you 1. This one, I don't know off the top of my head, so just type it in and get a decimal. You get 0.17. If you wanted one that would give you an integer, 4 would, and that would give you negative 1. So then we'd plot that. So we'd have 0, 3, 1, 1, 2.17, and 4, -1 if you want to do all those. So notice this one just flipped our arch upside down, and that can happen. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more. So once again, this one's another arch shape, and that's okay. Once again, if you see this kind of problem, but they raise it to the 1/2, it means the same thing. You can just do a square root. But let's first look under the radical and find our 0. So 2x, if you set 2x equal to 0 and divide by 2, you get x equals 0. So that's our 0. Square roots, if you put negative numbers into square roots, you get imaginary answers. So we don't do the left side. So I'll go ahead and do the right side though and start plugging those ones in. So we've got 2 times 0, which is 0. Square root of 0 is 0. And then subtract 3, you get -3. Square root of 2 is about 1.4, and if you minus 3, you get about -1.6. And then when you plug 2 in, you get the square root of 4, which is 2, minus 3, which is -1. So let's plot those. So we've got 0, -3, 1, -1.6, and 2, -1. Voila. Okay, last problem I want to do for this, for the table method, people. This is a cubic function, cube root, sorry, not cubic. So it's going to look like the stretched S. So you'll have things on both sides. And I will go ahead and find the 0 of x, or the value under the square root. So x over 2, if that's set equal to 0, if you just multiply both sides by 2, you get x equals 0. So our 0 is still at 0, which you should be able to know just because there's no addition or subtraction under the radical. So then go ahead and plug whatever numbers. You could do like -1. I'm actually going to do -2 and +2 for this one. And let's do like 8 or 4. Let's just do 4. I'm only picking even numbers because then they divide easily and it's easier to type in. So -2 divided by 2 is -1. So cube root of -1 is -1 plus 1 is 0. Cube root of 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. So you can just type these in. This one would give us 2. Cube root of 2, I don't know off the top of my head for this next one. But if I type it in, I get the decimal about 2.3. And then I'm just going to plot those. So -2, 0, 0, 1, 2, 2, 4, 2.3. And just draw the scoliosis looking. That looks kind of horrible, so I'm going to fix that. So I said scoliosis, I meant stretched S. That wasn't that much better, but I tried. Okay, so there is your stretched S graph, and that is how you do it.